Look, I need to tell you about the time I completely destroyed my relationship over dinner. Or actually, the lack of dinner. I'm Isabella. I'm 25, and I work in marketing at this tech startup downtown. My boyfriend Adam is 27 and does graphic design from home, which means he's always around the apartment with his fancy computer setup and his stupid, flexible schedule. We'd been together for 2.5 years, living together for the past year in this decent one-bedroom place. And here's the thing. Adam just naturally started doing all the cooking. Not because I asked him to or anything, but because he was home all day and apparently had nothing better to do. He'd make these elaborate meals like he was auditioning for some cooking show, spending hours on Sunday meal prep and acting all proud when I'd eat whatever he put in front of me. Between us, I thought it was kind of pathetic how much effort he put into it. Like, it's just food? But whatever. It meant I didn't have to think about grocery shopping or standing over a hot stove after working 10-hour days dealing with impossible clients and deadlines. Adam seemed to enjoy playing house. So I let him. He'd get all excited showing me these cooking videos on his phone, talking about techniques and ingredients like it actually mattered. I'd nod and make the right noises. But inside I was thinking, dude, you're a grown man getting worked up over pasta sauce. Still, the arrangement worked for me. I'd come home to a clean kitchen and whatever he'd decided to make that day. The truth is, I never really thought about whether his food was good or bad. It was just there, like the electricity or the Wi-Fi, something that happened automatically because Adam made it happen. He'd ask me how everything tasted, and I'd give him some generic compliment because that's what you do. Right. Delicious. Babe. Easy enough. But I started noticing how he'd light up when I said stuff like that. Like my approval was the highlight of his day. It was kind of sweet, I guess, but also a little sad. Here's this guy who could be working on bigger freelance projects or networking with other designers, and instead, he's obsessing over whether I like the seasoning on some chicken dish. My friends would joke about how lucky I was to have a boyfriend who cooked, and I'd laugh along, but part of me wondered if maybe Adam was just too comfortable in his little domestic bubble. Like, shouldn't he have bigger ambitions than perfecting his risotto recipe? I mean, don't get me wrong, I appreciated not having to deal with meal planning or dishes. But sometimes when he'd spend 3 hours making dinner for just the two of us, I'd think about how I was building my career while he was playing chef. It felt unbalanced. You know, I was out there hustling, making connections, dealing with real pressure, and he was home Googling best marinara techniques. Still, I kept my mouth shut because why rock the boat? Adam was happy. I was fed. And it's not like his cooking was terrible or anything. It was fine. Perfectly fine. And if he wanted to spend his free time catering to me, who was I to complain? Looking back, maybe I should have said something sooner about how the whole setup made me feel. But it was easier to just go along with it and let Adam think he was doing something special. I figured eventually he'd get bored of the whole domestic goddess routine and find something more meaningful to focus on. That Thursday started like any other nightmare day at work. My boss had been breathing down my neck about this campaign launch. And then around noon, everything went sideways. The client decided they hated the entire concept we'd been developing for months and wanted a complete overhaul. By yesterday? Because apparently that's how business works in their delusional minds. I was glued to my laptop, fielding angry calls and trying to salvage weeks of work, while my coworkers scattered like roaches when the lights come on. Nobody wanted to be associated with this disaster. So guess who got stuck fixing it? May. Obviously, by 7 p.m., I was running on coffee in pure rage. My head was pounding. My shoulders felt like concrete. And I had about 12 more hours of work ahead of me if I wanted to keep my job. All I could think about was getting home, eating whatever Adam had made, and maybe having a glass of wine while I figured out how to pull this project back from the dead. I walked into our apartment and immediately smelled nothing. No garlic sautéing. No oven timer beeping. No Adam humming while he stirred something on the stove. The kitchen was dark, and I could hear him typing away in the living room, completely absorbed in whatever design project he was working on. "What's for dinner?" I called out, dropping my bag by the door and kicking off my heels. My feet were killing me, and I was already mentally preparing to crash on the couch with a plate of whatever he'd prepared. Adam looked up from his screen with this blank expression, like I just asked him to explain quantum physics. "Oh, dinner, right?" He ran his hand through his hair, which he always did when he was stressed. "Sorry. Babe, been completely swamped with this client emergency. Deadline got moved up by a week. Haven't even thought about food." I stared at him. After the day I'd had, after dealing with impossible people and unrealistic expectations for 10 straight hours, I come home to find that my boyfriend, who literally works from home and has been sitting in his pajamas all day, couldn't be bothered to think about dinner. Seriously, I could feel my voice getting sharper. I've been at work all day, dealing with complete chaos, and you can't even manage to throw something together. I've been working all day too, he said, gesturing at his computer. This project is huge for me. We could just order Thai food or something. And that's when something inside me snapped. Here I was, fighting fires and saving campaigns while he sat around in our comfortable apartment. And he had the nerve to act like his little design project was equivalent to my actual job, with actual deadlines and actual consequences. Your cooking sucks anyway, I said, the words coming out before I could stop them. I only eat it to be polite. The silence that followed was deafening. Adam just looked at me for a long moment, and I could see something shift in his expression. Not hurt. Exactly. But something colder. More final. You're probably right, he said quietly. Turning back to his screen, I expected him to argue with me, to defend his precious cooking, or at least ask what I meant. Instead, he just accepted it. Like he'd been waiting for me to finally tell him the truth. Well, yeah, I said, suddenly feeling weird about how easily he'd agreed. Order whatever you want. I'm gonna take a shower. I stood under the hot water for 20 minutes, letting the day wash off me. By the time I came out, I could smell pad thai from the living room. Finally, some food. I was starving. But when I walked into the kitchen, there was only one container on the counter, one set of chopsticks, one fortune cookie. Where's mine? I asked. Adam was already eating, scrolling through his phone while he twirled noodles. You said my cooking sucks, he said without looking up. Figured you'd prefer getting your own food? You're being petty, I said, opening the takeout app on my phone. No, he replied, still not meeting my eyes. I'm being considerate. Wouldn't want to subject you to my terrible taste in restaurants. I ordered my own pad thai, slamming cabinets while I waited for it to arrive. Adam ate in complete silence, cleaned up his mess, and went back to work like nothing had happened. Like I hadn't just spent $18 on food when there was a perfectly good Thai place he could have ordered from for both of us. The next morning, I woke up to the smell of something incredible coming from the kitchen. Coffee, butter, maybe cinnamon. My stomach growled as I got ready for work, and I kept waiting for Adam to call out that breakfast was ready. Instead, I found him sitting at our little dining table with a plate of what looked like restaurant-quality French toast, fresh berries, and perfectly crispy bacon. He was reading something on his tablet, completely focused on his food. That looks amazing, I said, opening the cabinet to grab a plate. Did you make extra? Nope, he said, not looking up. Didn't want to poison you with my terrible cooking. I stood there holding an empty plate, waiting for him to laugh or tell me he was kidding. He wasn't kidding. There's cereal in the pantry, he added helpfully. Cereal. After 2.5 years of elaborate breakfasts, I was supposed to eat cereal while he enjoyed what was clearly a masterpiece of morning cuisine. The smell alone was making my mouth water. And he was acting like I didn't exist. You're overreacting, I said, pouring myself a bowl of generic cornflakes. I didn't mean it that harshly. No, you were being transparent, Adam replied, cutting another perfect bite. I appreciate that. Really opened my eyes. This continued for 3 days. 3 days of me eating sad desk lunches while Adam posted pictures of his homemade meals on his Instagram story. 3 days of coming home to incredible smells and finding exactly one portion of whatever gourmet creation he'd spent hours perfecting. On day 4, I tried making my own breakfast. How hard could it be, right? Eggs and toast. Basic human food. I burned the toast. The eggs were somehow both runny and overcooked. The kitchen looked like a war zone, and I was already running late for work. I left the mess for Adam to clean up. I mean, he was home anyway and grabbed a granola bar on my way out. When I got home that night, the burnt pan was exactly where I'd left it. The egg-crusted plate sat in the sink, growing more disgusting by the hour. Adam was in the kitchen making what looked like restaurant-quality salmon with some kind of fancy sauce, and the whole apartment smelled like a 5-star restaurant. Did you make extra? I asked hopefully. Nope, just one serving, he said, plating his meal with the precision of a professional chef. Your Uber Eats history shows you know plenty of good places. Though, I spent $18 on a mediocre sandwich and ate it while watching him enjoy what was clearly the best meal I'd seen all week. He even paired it with wine. Wine, like he was celebrating something. By Sunday, I was getting desperate. Cassidy was coming over for our weekly dinner, and I had no idea what I was going to feed her. Usually, Adam would spend the afternoon preparing something elaborate, and we'd all sit around praising his culinary skills, while I pretended to care about whatever technique he'd learned from YouTube. But when Cassidy arrived, Adam was in the kitchen by himself, working on what looked like beef Wellington. Beef Wellington. I didn't even know he knew how to make that. Oh my God. That smells incredible, Cassidy said, practically drooling as she watched him work. I can't wait to try it. Actually, I'm only making one portion, Adam said without looking up from his pastry work. Isabella thinks my cooking is terrible, so I don't cook for her anymore. Cassidy looked at me like I just announced I was joining a cult and, what? He's being ridiculous, I said quickly. I made one comment, one truthful comment. Adam corrected. Hey, Cassidy, there's a great pizza place that delivers menus on the fridge. Watching my best friend, who considers herself a serious foodie, try to understand why we were ordering Domino's while Adam ate beef Wellington was humiliating. She kept glancing between his plate and our greasy pizza, clearly doing the math. So you don't like his cooking? She asked me quietly while Adam was in the bathroom. It's complicated, I said, which was a lie. It wasn't complicated at all. I'd been an idiot, and now I was paying for it. Girl, that beef Wellington looks like something from a cooking show, Cassidy whispered. What is wrong with you? That's when things started getting really annoying. Suddenly, everyone had an opinion about my relationship. My mom called asking why I was starving myself because apparently Adam had been feeding me for years, and now I was too proud to apologize. My sister texted saying I was being emotionally abusive to someone who'd been taking care of me. Even my dad sent me some lecture about how real women appreciate a man who provides. I responded to all of them with the same message. Adam needed to hear the truth about his cooking, and I was just being direct. If he couldn't handle feedback, that was his problem, not mine. But the grocery situation was what really set me off. We'd always split groceries 50-50, even though Adam did all the shopping and meal planning, now that he was only cooking for himself. He handed me a receipt for $75 and asked for my half. Are you insane? I said, looking at the receipt. This is half of what we usually spend. Yeah, because I'm only buying food for one person now. He said, the grocery split is for groceries I actually buy. If you want different food, you can buy it yourself. I'm spending $300 a month on takeout. Sounds like a personal choice? $300. Do you know what I could do with $300? But apparently, Adam thought it was perfectly reasonable for me to blow my entire food budget on overpriced delivery while he ate like a king for $75. When I pointed out how unfair this was, he actually had the nerve to say I was being financially manipulative for expecting him to subsidize my food choices. Like wanting to split expenses equally in a relationship was some kind of abuse. The mental gymnastics were Olympic level. I swear. Week 2 was when I decided to take matters into my own hands. If Adam wanted to be petty about cooking, fine. I'd show him I could handle myself in the kitchen just fine. I decided to start simple. Spaghetti. How hard could spaghetti be? Somehow, I managed to burn the bottom of the pasta while leaving the top completely raw. The smoke alarm went off twice. The kitchen filled with this acrid smell that took hours to clear out. I threw the whole pot in the sink and ordered Chinese food while Adam made himself carbonara from scratch with homemade pasta. Homemade pasta. Who makes pasta from scratch on a Tuesday night? Need any help? He asked, watching me scrape burnt noodles into the garbage disposal. I'm fine, I snapped, though clearly I was not fine. He shrugged and went back to his perfect restaurant quality meal, while I ate lo mein straight from the container. Tuesday. I tried to negotiate. Okay, look, I'm sorry I said your cooking was bad. Can we go back to normal now? Do you actually think my cooking is good? Adam asked. Or are you just hungry? I opened my mouth to lie, then realized he'd see right through it. The silence stretched between us. That's what I thought. He said, I'm good with the current arrangement. Wednesday was when I decided to go nuclear. If Adam wanted to play games, I could play games too. I posted on Facebook about how my boyfriend was withholding food as punishment and creating a hostile living environment over one small comment. The responses were mixed at first. A few of my friends jumped to my defense, calling Adam controlling and manipulative. But then he commented with a simple response. I offered to cook for you. You said my cooking was terrible and you only ate it to be polite. I'm respecting your preferences. You have full access to the kitchen and groceries. Suddenly, people started asking questions I couldn't answer. Why did I want food that supposedly tasted awful? Why couldn't a grown woman cook for herself? Why did I need my boyfriend to feed me if I was so independent? I deleted the post, but the damage was done. Even my own friends were starting to side with Adam. Thursday, my mom showed up unannounced with bags of groceries, ready to stage some kind of intervention. She marched into our kitchen like she was planning to save me from starvation. A good man takes care of his woman regardless of silly fights, she announced, pulling ingredients out of bags. I agreed. Adam said, "That's why I'm not forcing her to eat food she finds disgusting. That would be cruel." My mom tried to cook dinner for all of us, and it was a disaster. Burnt chicken, under-seasoned vegetables, rice that turned into mush. I politely declined and watched Adam make himself a stir-fry that looked like something from a cooking magazine. The look on my mom's face when she realized Adam actually knew what he was doing in the kitchen was priceless. And not in a good way. Friday was the breaking point. My company has this monthly potluck thing, and I'd signed up to bring my famous spinach artichoke dip, the one that everyone always raved about at office parties, the one Adam had been making for me for 2 years. "Can you make the dip for tomorrow?" I asked Thursday night. "But my cooking is terrible," Adam said, not looking up from his laptop. "This is different. It's for work. So you want to take my awful cooking to work and claim credit for it? It's not like that." "What's it like then?" I couldn't answer because he was right, and we both knew it. I'd been taking credit for his recipes for years, letting my coworkers think I was some kind of kitchen genius when I could barely boil water. I tried to make the dip myself Thursday night. It was a disaster. Tried again Friday morning before work. Somehow even worse. I ended up buying something from the grocery store and trying to pass it off as homemade, and my coworker Jennifer, who follows Adam's cooking Instagram, took one bite and said, "This doesn't taste like your usual recipe." I wanted to disappear into the floor. Saturday was Adam's masterpiece. He invited his friend James and James's wife Nicole over for dinner without telling me. I came home from running errands to find him preparing what looked like a 5-course meal. "Oh, good. You're back," I said, assuming I was included. "This looks amazing." "That seat's for James," Adam said when I moved toward the dining room table. "My cooking is awful. Remember?" I stood there while he explained the situation to our friends. Nicole, who's actually a professional chef, gasped when he got to the part about me only eating his food to be polite. "You said that?" she asked, looking at me like I'd just admitted to kicking puppies. I ate leftover Chinese takeout in the kitchen while they had what was clearly a restaurant-quality meal in the next room. Nicole kept complimenting every dish loud enough for me to hear, and I could hear James asking Adam for recipes. That night, I finally broke down. "I'm sorry," I said through tears. "I was wrong. Your cooking is amazing. Please. I can't do this anymore." "You weren't sorry when you said it," Adam replied. "You weren't sorry when you told your family I was starving you. You're sorry now because you're facing consequences." "What do you want from me?" "Nothing." "I want nothing from you. I'm actually thinking about our whole relationship now. If you could lie about something as basic as enjoying my cooking for 2.5 years, what else have you been lying about?" The third week was pure desperation mode. I tried everything. Cooking classes that I quit after one lesson because the instructor was condescending. Meal prep services that cost $200 a week. Even staying at my parents' house for 2 days before my mom sent me back because I kept complaining about her cooking too. I even tried to seduce Adam, which was humiliating because he just looked at me like I was pathetic and said he wasn't interested in sleeping with someone who'd spent 2 weeks calling him abusive online. Then I did something that sealed the deal. I called his mom, Adam's mom, who taught him everything he knew about cooking, who spent his entire childhood passing down family recipes and techniques, who was proud that her son could take care of himself and others. I told her Adam was being cruel and manipulative, that he was starving me and acting like a child over one small comment. She asked one question. "Did you tell him his cooking was terrible?" "Well, yes, but..." Click. She hung up on me. Then she called Adam, and I could hear him laughing from the other room. "She really thought you'd take her side after insulting your teaching," he said. That was Thursday. Friday, I came home to find $300 worth of groceries scattered across our kitchen. I'd ordered everything I needed to make the Pinterest recipes I'd been saving for months, thinking maybe if I could just prove I was trying, Adam would forgive me. The kitchen looked like a bomb had gone off. Flour covered every surface. I'd burned 3 different pans trying to make what was supposed to be simple chicken. Something unidentifiable sat in the oven, charred beyond recognition. I was sitting at the kitchen table crying when Adam came home, surrounded by the evidence of my complete failure as a functional adult. "I can't do this," I sobbed. "I don't know how you make it look so easy. I'm so hungry and tired, and everything I make is terrible and costs so much money. So my cooking doesn't actually suck. Adam asked. No, it's amazing. I'm an idiot. I was just mad about work that day and took it out on you. Please, I'm literally begging you. But it was too late. The truth is, it had stopped being about the cooking weeks ago. It was about respect. It was about how I'd taken him for granted. It was about how I'd weaponized my family against him instead of just apologizing. It was about how I'd publicly slandered him rather than admit I was wrong. I'm done. Isabella, Adam said, this isn't about food. It's about you showing me who you really are when you don't get your way. You're ending our relationship over cooking. No, I'm ending it over respect. Pack your things. I lost it completely. Called him every name I could think of, told him he'd wasted my time, that no woman would put up with someone so petty, that he'd die alone with his stupid recipes and his pathetic need for validation. He just kept cooking his dinner. One perfectly seared steak, garlic mashed potatoes, grilled asparagus. He was still plating it while I screamed at him. Are you seriously cooking right now? I yelled. Yeah, he said calmly. For one, like I have been for 3 weeks. I moved out that weekend. And Adam started dating someone new within a month. Some girl named Sophia, from a cooking class he'd started taking. She thinks this whole story is hilarious and regularly posts about how amazing his food is, with specific details about techniques and flavors. It's been 2 months now, and I'm living with my parents, eating my mom's bland cooking and listening to her complain about how I threw away a good man over nothing. My sister reached out to apologize for how she treated Adam, saying I was wrong but too proud to apologize properly. Too proud to apologize, but not too proud to eat cereal for 3 weeks while he ate like a king. Look, maybe I could have handled things differently. Maybe I shouldn't have said his cooking was terrible when I was just having a bad day. But the way he handled it was completely over the top, ending a 2.5-year relationship over one comment, making me spend hundreds of dollars on takeout while he lived like some kind of gourmet chef. Everyone acts like I'm supposed to feel guilty. But the truth is, if Adam was that sensitive about feedback, maybe we weren't right for each other anyway. A stronger person would have talked it through instead of playing these elaborate mind games for weeks. His cooking didn't suck, but his attitude sure did.